Welcome back, detectives. I've made some discoveries since the last episode. I realized after rewatching it a couple times that I made some mistakes and accidentally edited a whole section out of information, mainly the part where I explain how the OSTs are connected to the characters, but I don't have time for this video, so I'll explain in a later shorter video. But for now, you may notice if you watched the last video, the title of the video is different than what I said it would be. That's because the theory I was working on was overall more boring and led me to more dead ends than answers, so it's shelved. Plus, I found something more interesting. I took a sit back from everything and widened my scope, and I took notice of something that I found quite odd. Now let me ask you a question. Off the top of your head, what chapters in Book 2 have insolence eyes in them? Including skins. Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, and 3 if you really want them affected tiger skins, orange eyes, or distraction. But I personally wouldn't count refinery. So we're left with just chapters 1, 2, 3, 8, and 10. Alright, what about it? Well, it's interesting since the closer we have gotten to the lab, the more we have seen insolence eyes pop up around the several infected insolence members at the camp and several eyes littered around the docks, not to mention the eerie tomb. So why does Chapter 10 Temple not have any? Or ship, considering the theory that Tio is talking through the radio on the ship? Or at least some form of an insolence creature? Well, it's interesting. Let me tell you something. This is the bot for ship, yeah? And this is the bot for temple. Do you notice anything? They both have white pupils. Okay? So maybe it's just a coincidence. Possibly, but think about chapters 1 through 3. Nothing really special with them, right? We know the instance starts messing with Ziggy's mind only after being infected. But what about the store? Nothing special here, right? Well, remember how the store is right next to the metro, where PIGGY resides, who also has a white eye? Okay, that's nice and all, but there's more. Looking at the angel and devil skin, you notice a couple things. The devil has an orange eye. Okay, neat, that's the pupil of the insolence. But you look at the pupil of the angel. It's white. Interesting, wouldn't you say? I have reason to believe this white pupil is the eye that Orb is using as his signature for his own infected army. Now, I know this sounds like a stretch, but I have reason to believe this. In the distracting chapter, the bot chasing Zuzi around is a hallucination of her two sisters, Z and Zuzi. Upon taking a look at them, I realized something shocking. Z, the one that Tio says will become like him, has black eyes, and Zuzi, the one who talks, has white eyes. Interesting, but why assume the black eye means it's symbolism of Tio? This requires me to go back to the skin shop. Take a look at the first 4 skins: Piggy, little brother, mother, and father. Take a look at the clothes they wear. Now look at the color of their backgrounds. Notice anything? Mother's background is orange, like the rest, who have the rest of their backgrounds as their clothing color. Now this also could just be a mistake by Minitoon, as the original mother skin was in fact wearing orange, but it's still interesting to point out. Besides that, the eyes are also entirely black, void of pupil color, and to top it all off, I look at the color clothing again of all of them. Now look at the insolence arena. Now look at Breakout. The smallest details mean the most. With this evidence, and a lot more like the memory skin, leads me to believe that anything with the orange pupil, or black eye, or eyes in specific, are related to Tio. This has caused me to make many connections with the symbol of black and white, such as the Nzuzi, Ghosty, and let's get more. Speaking of Laura, I also have more proof that the white eye is friend. I see Laura as a metaphor. The black eyes resembling Tio, and the bear Laura holds resembles Orb. Or I guess I should say, Mr. Stitchy. Cause yeah, it's undeniable. Mr. Stitchy is Tio's friend now. Anyways, the bear has white eyes. And well, it's a bear. That seems to be the exact same creature as Mr. Stitchy. Do you agree with me yet? If so, good. Cause get ready for this next part. With all this info, there is one character you may think of that has white pupils that's infected. A character whose presence was so important, but short-lived. I'm of course talking about Bunny. I have reason to believe Bunny is still alive, kicking around, and in a place you wouldn't expect. But first, why do I believe Bunny is alive and well? Well, what I mean by that is that, yes, Bunny is infected, but not in the normal way you'd think. Bunny to me is like a semi-host. While still retaining the infected eyes, Bunny still has full consciousness of their actions. Why? Because I believe Mr. Stitchy to have hand-picked Bunny to be his right-hand lady, to help take down Tio. But didn't I say last time that Zizzy was basically that role? Well, I will have to admit something. I believe I was wrong. I do believe Zizzy has become Tio's puppet, meaning Zizzy is Tio's right-hand lady. But it's still a puppet nonetheless. Mr. Stitchy is playing his cards carefully. But if Bunny is aware of Stitchy's plans, she would not want to help him, right? Because I said he was also going to be a villain, right? Well, I was also wrong there too. I do believe Mr. Stitchy is actually a good guy in this war. Why? Well, I have reason to believe that Mr. Stitchy was the one who wrote the old notes in the spooky event. Well, I should say spooky hunt event. And not alone on this idea. A member from the Minitoon fan Discord, another theorist, and PIGGY discussions also seem to have this idea, with notes such as "Someone began to disrupt the countryside." The descriptions of witnesses matched his look. I never saw him again. And when he learned of my condition, he grew sad and frustrated. He left. Would make sense for Mr. Stitchy's POV. Mr. Stitchy wasn't the one who left. He was the one who was left behind. But then that brings the question, where did he go? Where did Tio go? Tio likely went to whatever his pocket dimension is. That or it's still unknown. I have a theory for Mr. Stitchy. You see, Mr. Stitchy is a ghost, if you don't know. Yeah, that's what from the hunt event basically shows it. So what I am taking a guess at is that Mr. Stitchy used the plush body as a vessel to interact with Tio. What happened after Tio left is that he simply kept the vessel for the several decades ahead of him, watching time pass, practicing his magic, spells to reanimate the dead. Even practicing magic that would give him his own army if needed. But then something happened. A rich plum funding research for a cure to his wife's disease. Although it seems like normal stuff, something felt off this time. He kept on the lookout, eventually finding a person of interest. Us, the player, watching our every move. From the arrest of Willow, to watching us at the house to become immune, and kept watching. And eventually, when the player leaves the metro and enters Carnival, Mr. Stitchy notices that bunny character from the hospital and school aren't there. He goes back to the metro only to find the bunny, ready for the end, until he shows up. Mr. Stitchy leaves his body and enters Bunny's body, making direct contact with her. At this point, Stitchy finds out where the player is going and heads for the outpost. With Stitchy directing Bunny, but not before covering both her eyes, but making sure she can still be able to see. Bunny made it to one of the towers and watched the player from afar. Yes, this shadow of Bunny, of what we thought to be a ghost of Bunny, I believe is the real Bunny, but as a shadow. It's how we were shown Penny several times before, Chapter 12, Book 2. Now finally, Where is Bunny now? While Orb used his ancient powers to watch the player with his white eye infected, Bunny was busy. Very busy on the mainland. A long period after Book 2, the capital began to form while the player was away. And while I was looking at photos of leaks, I noticed something very, very interesting. Remember my black and white duality theory? Look at these patrol guards. They're wearing black and white uniforms. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But I was thinking about it. Look at this text. It's specifically blue. Odd choice, you think? Well, guess what? The eye of the angel is also blue. Okay, so the alternate winter skin for Bunny is that she becomes a ice queen, so in a way. Combining the colors of white and blue, the colored eyes of Angel, and the supposed colors used by Mr. Stitchy. And then I thought, what if the capital was run by Mr. Stitchy? But not actually Mr. Stitchy. Bunny. What if Bunny was the one who made the capital? Or is the leader? Or at least some form of one of the leaders of the capital? It would make so much sense. Them knowing what the Insolence Eye is, the white and blue logo scheme, the black and white suits, not to mention the helmets completely hide the identity of the individual wearing them. If Bunny were to look infected, but didn't want anyone to see, these helmets would be the perfect way to hide it. Then there's this image. The word citizen in blue, and the word a proper citizen in red. The two opposite hosts. Not to mention, these are the same colors Duokara has on their skin for the two faces. A bit interesting, isn't it? We also do know, as Minitoon has said, that infected eye colors reflect the person's personality. And red seems to be that they are quite the leader. I say this because both Dizzy and Willow's skins are red eyes, and they both are known to be quite combatant and leaderful in their roles, which would fit for this description of a proper citizen. Also inside the capital, I would not say it's out of the realm of possibility that there are possibly cult members that work for the capital, which throws a whole gallon of monkey wrench in that, which I will address for some other time. But for now, I have one last thing to talk about. The survivors and the capital. One of the most recent leaks from the capital is of what looks to be a burning city, with them making a whole spiel on how it will never happen again, with a hidden message in it being decoded to remember what they did. We can't let them in again. Assumably being the survivors outside the city. How I see it is that the capital is resembled in blue and white, and the survivors outside the capital are resembled in red/pink. I believe in Inner City that it may work similar to Dying Light 2, where you choose who to work for/ally with. Do you go with the capital, or do you go with your fellow survivors? With each choice affecting your reputation and your story. Beware, however. Take care with your choices, for the wrong one may be your last choice ever. Now I just have one question left for you. Which side are you on?